Hello everyone. Welcome to the infamous Sylvia channel. We are here to reenact the trial, the Eastern District, New York trial of Robert Sylvester Kelly. We are here just to give you exactly what happened through the transcript. We're waiting on our person who's supposed to be playing Jerhonda. So please be a little bit patient with us because I think they got lost somewhere. So just be patient for a moment and we'll be right with you. In the meantime, I just want to tell you guys we're almost there at our number. We're almost at 10,000. We are short by 16 individuals. Hello.
Hi, hello everybody.
Hey,
Hey, Nikia.
Nikia.
Nikia, we hear
Hi,
background.
everybody. Blessings.
You say what, Sylvia?
We hear background noise.
Um, I'm gonna have to come back there. Hold on.
Hold on. I had to say her name. She just left me. All right, guys. So now somebody else left. Oh gosh, I tell you, the StreamYard is really, really weird when you're working with this. Hey Paula, how are you? This StreamYard is really, hey Tiffany. Just what's everybody that's just jumping off ship? Just they left me and you, Robbie. Folks jumping ship, y'all. So we're gonna okay, Miss Geddes is back. We're waiting for the other two. Just bear with us a second. What I'm gonna do is bring and then as I said to you guys, the transcript will be put on as much as I
Is that better, Sylvia?
um yeah, I don't hear it now. It's good.
Okay.
The transcript is going to be put on as best as we can. Um, um, it's not going to be up throughout the whole time. So those who have their transcript can follow along, and those who wish to get a transcript could donate because we're still trying to collect the other last week of transcript because you guys have slowed down, and I understand it. You may not want it, but that's the only way we could continue because we don't know when they will release it to Pacers. They said we were going to release it in October. October came and we have not seen it yet. October is here and we have not seen it. So hopefully they will release it really soon. Just trying to wait till Mr. Canick come back so we can get going. So it's going to be the 5 minutes mark, I guess. That's the way we're going to do it. 5 minute mark. In a perfect world, we would have everything production ready, but we're not. We're not the production company. So I'm gonna put the screen up. So I'm gonna start off with it being on the screen. But life happens. I have to stay watching to make sure everybody's able to get in. Because if I'm not watching the screen, then I can't help them to get back in if there's trouble. So that's why I tend not to put the link up because we've been having a lot of trouble with this StreamYard. So we're waiting for him to come back in. But since he's not in right now, I think we're still doing the direct examination of Jerhonda. So I think we can go ahead on and go forward to page number 211. We're starting from 211 and it says open court. The jury's not present. It says defendant enters the courtroom. And here I'm going to be the court deputy for 5 seconds. All rise. The judge enters.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Everybody can have a seat. Okay, just before we begin, I have just been kind of keeping in touch with our epidemiologists, and I know everybody is vaccinated. But I think if you're not talking, Let's all stay masked up. Just why borrow trouble? So I think if someone doesn't have a mask, we have them, but I think that's what we'll do, unless you're speaking. And I don't think there's any need to tell the jury that. The second thing is, let me just check one thing with our court reporter. The other thing, I guess, there's been a request for the
Let me
transcript.
just check one thing with our court reporter.
Turn yourself down, Terry.
The
We hear
other
you in
thing,
the
I guess,
background.
there's been a request for.
Terry, turn it down. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The other thing, I guess there's been a request for the transcripts. I don't think there was anything that can't be released in those from yesterday. So, and obviously, that will include the sidebar conferences, but I think that's fine. So, as far as yesterday's transcript, I think it can go as is.
Terry, there's noise in your background. Please mute.
And
Nothing.
then I think just on a day to day basis, I am going to ask both sides just to be aware. And we will also take a look at it. But we should be aware if there is anything in there that can't be public, okay? All right. All right. Anything else before we bring in the jury? We'll bring in the witness and then bring in the jury.
Your Honor, the government has a couple of housekeeping matters which we can raise now or perhaps at the lunch break, depending on what works for the court.
Let's get the show on the road if they don't have to be raised now. Anything else?
Canic. Yeah, he's frozen. Oh my Lord. He's having fun.
Yes, Your Honor, you had me mute. Yesterday, during a direct examination of this witness, the government elicited her full name, and I just want to know whether or not we are still operating as first names only with this particular witness.
We did not request that she testify using her first name only. So you can refer to her by her first and last name.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, let's get the witness. All right, and let's get the jury.
Your Honor, can the witness take off her mask?
Can I just see counsel at the side? We don't need the court reporter. I just want to ask you a question.
All rise. You may be seated.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I see you're prepared for the temperature. I don't think it's that bad today. But anyway, just a couple of things before we start. I think I told you when we began jury selection that we're keeping in touch with epidemiologists and all of that. I've just asked all of the participants, including me, to wear a mask if they're not speaking. Nothing's happened, nothing's gotten infected, or anything like that. But I just think better safe than sorry. So I am going to keep in touch with the experts just to make sure we're keeping everything as safe and healthy as possible. So that's what we're doing. We're going to continue with the direct examination of the witness. Go ahead, Ms. Geddes.
Thank you.
First, I think our clerk needs to remind our witness.
You're reminded that you're still under oath.
Yes. Okay. We hear some background noises, y'all.
Who's next?
Jerhonda Payne.
She muted herself.
called as a witness by the government, having been previously duly sworn, affirmed by the courtroom deputy, was examined and testified further as follows. Good morning. Yesterday, during your direct examination, you testified about the different devices that the defendant used to record you. Do you recall?
Yes.
What, if anything, specifically do you recall the defendant recording using the video camera on top of the tripod? I think you testified earlier that it was a Canon camera. Is that correct?
Yes.
What do you recall the defendant recording you doing using that particular device?
He recorded us having sexual intercourse.
While you were engaging in sexual activity with the defendant, what, if anything, did the defendant request that you wear during the encounter?
During those encounters, he wanted me to put my hair up in pigtails and dress like a little Girl Scout.
Yesterday, you also referred the cabin, one of the recording studios in the defendant's residence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you describe how the cabin appeared?
It's a recording studio. It looks like a log cabin. So the inside of the room, it was just logs for like the walls and everything.
You also testified about documents and a camera. Not, excuse me. You testified about documents and a cell phone and a t-shirt that you picked up from the lawyer Fish. Do you recall that?
Yes.
How were the documents? How did you pick up the documents? When you picked up the shirt and the cell phone, how were the documents?
They were in a box.
And
Everything was in a box and he handed me the box.
were the papers physical papers that you picked up
It was a flash drive.
containing scans of those documents?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I publish Government Exhibit 210P, which is already in evidence?
Yes.
Directing your attention to Government Exhibit 210P, which is shown on the screen in front of you. What was the telephone number for the cellular telephone that you identified yesterday, which was in evidence as Government Exhibit 210?
This this is the number. It was 630-886-2837.
And how is it that you would arrange times to go to the defendant's residence,
It would be through phone calls.
including using this telephone?
Yes.
I am showing Government Exhibit 210E, which is also in evidence. What is shown in 210E?
A picture of me.
And approximately when was the picture taken?
It was taken probably around the summertime of 2009.
And I am showing now 210M. What is shown in 210M?
Another photo of me.
What are you wearing?
I am wearing some blue jeans and a AstroTurf t-shirt.
Is that the same brand of t-shirt as the one you identified yesterday as using the last time you were at the defendant's residence?
Yes, it is the same brand.
Fair to say it's a different t-shirt though.
Yes, it is.
I am showing the witness. I am showing everyone go
The
210
connection is terrible. You're breaking up a lot, Miss Geddes. And
All right, I'm gonna go out and come back in.
okay, sorry about that.
All right, I'm sorry.
Sorry guys, we're just trying to get the StreamYard is not working too well today. Our apologies. And I don't have the transcript up. Travel the world, you have the transcript. You can follow it. So I don't have it up because I'm taking care of some things here. She's
Is
back.
that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Fair to say it's a different T-shirt, though.
Yes, it is.
I am showing the witness. I am showing everyone Government Exhibit 210 AB. This is also in evidence. What is shown in 210 AB?
It's a photo of me.
And I want to direct your attention to the tattoo that is on your body shown in the photograph. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
What is that a tattoo of?
It's a tattoo of Rob's name.
I still hear like feedback or something.
I think it's with Nakia and you together. It's like a yeah, it's like feedback.
So what do we do? Pause? I mean, mute it
Uh,
I
briefly.
mean, I could put my headphones in, but then my battery is going to die.
Okay. And does that say Rob R/O/B?
Yes, it does.
And what again happened to that tattoo?
I covered it up with a black heart.
So you filled it in?
Yes.
I am showing what's in evidence as government 210 AA. What is shown in 210 AA?
A photo of Dominique.
That and this was a photo that was on your cellular phone.
Yes, it is.
Who took this photograph?
Dominique took that photograph.
How did you obtain it?
She sent it to me.
I am showing what's in evidence as government exhibit 210N. What is shown in government's exhibit 210N?
Rob's contact information.
Was this a contact that you saved on your cellular telephone in evidence as government exhibit 210?
Yes, it is.
And when you say Rob, who are you referring to?
The defendant.
What was the telephone number listed for the defendant?
708-337-9300.
I am showing what's in evidence as government exhibit 210Z as in zebra. What is shown in government exhibit 210Z?
These are my contacts.
And there's one contact highlighted there. Do you recognize who that? What is that a contact for?
That's Rob's studio.
And what was the telephone number for Rob's studio?
708-747-6569.
And just to be clear, when you say Rob, are you referring to the defendant?
Yes, I am.
And was that a contact that was saved in your telephone government exhibit 210?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, can I just have the exhibit number before we go?
Can you give the exhibit number again?
Oh, yes, 2C as in zebra.
All right.
I am showing what's in evidence as government's exhibit 210Y. What is shown in 210Y?
My contact. My mic died.
We lost your mic. All right, what is shown in government's exhibit 210Y?
My contacts.
And what contact is highlighted there?
My mom's phone number.
And was that a contact saved in your telephone in government exhibit 210?
Yes, it was.
Does your mother still have that telephone number?
No, she does not.
What is the telephone number?
224-387-6519.
I am showing what's in evidence as Government's Exhibit 210X. What is shown on 210X?
My contacts.
Whose telephone number is highlighted in red?
Keona's.
Is Keona the friend that you testified you first went to the defendant's house back in 2009 with?
Yes.
And was that a contact that was saved on Government's Exhibit 210?
Yes.
What was Keona's telephone number back then?
773-612-1900.
I am showing what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 210V as in Victor. What is shown in 210V?
My contacts.
Whose contact is highlighted?
Dominique's.
And how is Dominique referred to in your phone?
Damo.
D-O-M-O?
Yes.
Is this a nickname for her?
Yes, it is.
And again, was that a contact that you saved in your telephone that you had in 2009 and 2010?
Yes, it is.
What was Dominique's number back then?
708-623-4142.
And just to be clear, you've referred to a photograph of Dominique just a few minutes ago, as well as this contact. Is this the Dominique that was shown yesterday in Government's Exhibit 69, who you identified as Dominique?
Yes.
I am showing the witness what's in evidence as Government's Exhibit 210U. What is shown in 210U?
A phone call.
And was this a phone call can you tell whether this is a phone call you sent or received? You made or received?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Who is this phone call with?
Rod.
The defendant?
Yes.
And what telephone number was used to connect to the defendant?
708-337-9300.
What was the date of the telephone call?
January 23rd,
Do you know what year that would have been?
2010,
What time?
1:36 p.m.
And how long did that telephone call last?
57 seconds.
I am showing what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 210T. What is shown in 210T?
Another phone log.
And who is this communication with?
Rob.
The defendant?
Yes.
What is the date of this communication?
January 23rd,
What time?
2:51 p.m.
And again, what year was that in? Was that of January 23rd?
2010,
How long did that telephone call last?
50 seconds.
I'm sorry, did you say what time that telephone call happened?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. I am showing what's in evidence as 210S. What is shown in 210S?
Another phone log.
Who is that? Who is the communication with?
With Rob.
What was the date of it?
January 23rd.
Same date as the prior telephone calls with the defendant?
Yes.
What time?
4:47 p.m.
And how long did that telephone call last?
56 seconds.
I'm showing what's in evidence as 210R. What is shown in 210R? What is shown in 210R?
Another phone log.
And who is that telephone call with?
Rob.
The defendant?
Yes.
What date?
January 23rd.
End of 2010?
Yes.
How long did it last?
27 seconds.
All right. And what time?
5:03 p.m.
I And finally, I am showing Government's Exhibit 210-0. What is 210-0?
It's a text message.
And who is that text message with?
It's a text message from Rob.
And what was the telephone number of it?
708-337-9300.
And what does the text message say?
Please call.
And was this a text message that you sent to your phone, Government Exhibit 210?
Yes.
What was the date of the text message?
February 3rd, 2010,
And what time?
10:02 p.m.
How can you tell that that's a message from Rob?
Because it says message from, and then it has his phone number, and it says Rob.
No further questions for this witness.
Okay, cross-examination. Canic, you muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me go back to the page.
You okay? Line 14.
9:14. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I move to the podium up over here so I can have access to the microphone?
You have it over there. Yes.
Okay, it's hidden.
And I am going to keep nagging you to use the microphone.
Now, you just testified about a number of telephone communications between you and Rob. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, those calls, according to you and the records, how many were they?
I don't recall.
Would 5 sound correct?
5 sounds about right.
And those calls were made on the same day, January 23rd, 2010. Am I correct?
Yes.
And how long apart were they made?
I don't recall.
Now, when you made those calls or when the calls were made to you, you do recall whether or not you reached an individual or whether or not you got an answering service.
We talked on the phone.
Now, the calls, you had conversations, and the longest one, hold on a second. So the longest conversation was 57 seconds. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you have 5 conversations within the longest one was 57 seconds.
Yes.
And then you had a text message.
Yes.
Now, when was it that you told withdrawn? You told the jury yesterday that you had a relationship with Rob for about 6 months. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you said that relationship started in May 2009. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you stated it terminated in January 2010. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, what date did it terminate in January 2010?
I don't recall the exact date.
But you recall you told the jury yesterday that on that particular day that Rob spat on you. Am I correct?
Yes.
And he slapped you in your face. Am I correct?
Yes.
And he made you wipe semen off your face with a cloth. Am I correct?
That's incorrect.
No, you didn't wipe semen off your face with a t-shirt.
He didn't make me wipe it off with the t-shirt. I did.
You did. But all that happened the last time you saw him in a romantic relationship. Am I correct?
Yes.
And it's your testimony that you have no recollection as to when that date was. Am I correct?
That's correct.
But you recalled his telephone number from 10 years ago. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Didn't recall your mom's. Am I correct?
I do recall my mom's.
No. Yesterday when you were asked On the witness stand, you testified and told the jury that you didn't recall your mother's testimony, your mother's telephone number.
That's incorrect.
You didn't recall your own telephone number. Is that correct?
That is correct. Mr. Cannon, can I see you with counsel at the side? I don't need the court reporter. So, Mr. Cannon, just do your best.
Yes, Your Honor.
To stay
To
tethered.
stay. We do, Your Honor. We have it.
Oh, you do?
May I have the last question read back to me and the question answered and the question and answer?
Can you hear? I just want to make sure everybody can hear. I don't want to have to interrupt you again.
Okay. Hopefully this works.
Give it a shot.
Now, you may. So, according to you, there was a 50-second communication between you and Rob on January 23rd, 2010 at 2:51. Am I correct?
Yes.
And according to you, there was a communication between you and Rob on January 23rd, 2010 for 57 seconds
Yes.
at 1:36 p.m.
Yes.
And again, another telephone communication January 23rd at 4:47 p.m., 56 seconds.
Yes.
And there's another one that does not withdrawn. Now, you were, in fact, stalking him, weren't you?
No,
You weren't stalking him.
I was not.
Now, these calls were made after you initiated a lawsuit against Robert. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Now, when was your first lawsuit settled against Rob?
I believe it was February of 2010.
What date specifically in February 2010?
I don't recall.
Now, going back to the testimony 210N, Government's Exhibit 210N, could you?
It is connected to your laptop.
To speed up time, could you just post it?
Here you go.
Can you see 210N?
No.
Are you connected to?
We are hoping that we are.
Can we use the government's? I'm sorry. The other thing we can do is take 10 minutes and try to fix it. I'd rather not.
I'd rather not as well. Can you see 210N?
Yes.
Now, you testified. You told us that was a correct. You told us that was a contact of Rob that was stored in your phone.
Yes.
Now, there's a photo there, correct?
Yes, it is.
Where did you get that photo?
That photo came off the internet.
He didn't give you the photo, am I correct?
That's correct.
You went to the internet, searched, and got a picture from your phone.
Yes, I did.
You can take it down, please. Now, before coming and giving testimony to the jury yesterday, how many meetings had you had with the government?
I don't recall.
Well, let's see if we can work it out. When was the last time you met with the government before coming in and giving your testimony to the jury yesterday?
Monday.
Okay. And how long was that meeting?
I don't recall.
Well, was it 5 minutes?
It was longer than 5 minutes.
Was it longer than 30 minutes?
Yes, it was.
Was it longer than an hour?
Yes, it was.
Was it longer than 2 hours?
Yes, it was.
Was it longer than 3 hours?
Yes.
4 hours?
Yes.
5 hours?
Yes, it was.
6 hours?
I'm not sure if it reached the 6 hour mark.
Who was present at the meeting?
Several of several people that's sitting at the table.
When you say several people sitting at the table, what table?
This table right here.
You're talking about the government's table.
Yes, I am.
Specifically, who were those people?
Ryan was present, Maria was present, Liz was present, and I don't remember your name. I'm sorry. She was present.
She was present as well.
She was present as well. Yes.
Miss Shihata?
Yes.
And you know these two by first name, correct?
Yes.
Who else?
Keith was present as well.
Who's Keith?
A part of the government's team.
Who else?
I don't recall if there was more people.
Now, at that meeting, you went over.
You muted.
You rehearsed your testimony. Am I
Can you hear me?
correct?
I'm not muted. Hello?
Yep,
You
you're
were
okay.
muted. You was muted.
No, I just looked. It wasn't unless the system is done. Okay. Okay, get back. Recall what page, what number, what line, what line?
18.
18. Now that the meeting you went over, you rehearsed your testimony. Am I correct?
That is incorrect.
You didn't go over your questions that were asked of you by Miss Geddes?
I did go over questions, but I did not rehearse.
Oh, so the very questions that were asked of you by Miss Geddes yesterday and this morning, you went over them with her in the office at the meeting.
That is correct.
At that meeting, did you look at any documents?
Yes, I did.
What documents did you look at?
The evidence that I presented.
The evidence that you presented?
Yes.
Did you look at photographs?
Yes, I did.
Did you listen to audios?
No, I did not.
Videos?
No, I did not.
Now, so this is all done on Monday for about 6+ hours. Am I correct?
I'm not sure it made the 6 hour mark.
And when you say Monday, I'm talking about 3-4 days ago.
Well, today is Thursday.
Okay, let's back it up. 4 days ago.
It was on Monday of this week.
Okay, before that, when was the last time you spoke with the government or met with the government?
I don't recall.
And you have no recollection as to how many times you met with the government?
I do not.
Now, you did meet with the government on prior occasions, am I correct?
That is correct.
Before Monday?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say you met them more than once, am I correct?
That is correct.
More than twice, am I correct?
That would be correct.
More than 3 times, am I correct?
I'm not sure how many times it was.
And when you met with them, you did the very same thing you went over your testimony, am I correct?
I did not go over my testimony.
Well, didn't they ask you the questions that were asked of your Didn't they ask you the questions that were asked of you yesterday and this morning?
No, not at every meeting.
Not at every meeting. But you didn't go there to have cocktails with them. Am I correct?
That is correct.
You didn't have lunch with them, correct?
That's correct.
You went there to prepare to give your testimony. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And each time you went there were a number of government officials in the room taking notes. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Now, you have also you've also had interviews regarding your testimony as to what you say happened here. Am I correct?
That is correct.
How many?
I'm unsure of how many interviews it was.
Was it more than one?
It was more than one.
More than two?
Yes, it was more than two.
More than three?
I'm not sure how many it was.
Can you approximate?
Objection. Well, do you have any idea how many it was?
I do not.
But was it more than two, right?
Yes, it was.
All right, go ahead.
And you've done YouTube postings.
One YouTube posting, yes.
When did you do that?
That was in 2017.
And when you did, you have your first television. Give your first television interview.
The same year, 2017.
And the second one?
That I'm unsure of.
And did you do any Instagram postings?
Yes, I did.
How many?
I'm not sure how many Instagram posts I did.
More than one, though?
Yes, it was more than one.
Now, when you gave the television interview, were you compensated?
No, I was not.
YouTube, any compensation there?
No,
Instagram, any compensations there?
no.
But you wrote a book, am I correct?
Yes, I did.
And any compensation for the book?
Yes.
How much was the compensation for the book?
I don't recall the exact number.
Well, give me the non-exact number.
It would be more than 25,000.
More than 100,000?
Less than 100,000.
So it would be fair to say more than 25,000, but less than 100.
Yes.
And when was it that you received these monies?
It happened over a period of months.
And who was it that you got it from?
Amazon.
And did you have an agent?
No, it was self-published book.
Self-published book, okay. And what you wrote in the book was accurate, am I correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear what you said. Accurate?
Yes, it was.
No embellishment?
No.
Okay, now I want to go over your testimony from yesterday. You testified and told us that you first had sexual contact with Robert when you were 16 years old. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And incidentally, when you came here yesterday and you gave testimony to the jury, you swore to tell the truth. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And you said that the initial encounter was in May of 2009. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you said you were 16 years old at the time. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you said that this relationship lasted about 6 months. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And I think you testified and told us that it terminated in January 2010. Am I correct?
That is correct.
But you testified here this morning that you don't know specifically the date that it terminated.
That's correct.
Now, you told us yesterday that you had an encounter with Robert in 2008. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And you told us that the encounter came about on April 1st, 2008. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, in fact, you told us it was April Fool's Day.
Yes.
Now, you testified and told the jury that at that date, at the time of that encounter you were 14 years old. Am I correct?
Yes.
So let's try to do the math. You met him April 1st, 2008. Am I correct so far?
Yes.
And you were 14 years old.
Yes.
And then you had sexual encounter with him May in 2010.
Yes.
2010 or 2009?
2009.
Okay. See. So in May 2009, you had your encounter with him. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you told the jury that you were 16 years old at the time. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Now you would agree with me that from May 1st, 2008 to, I'm sorry, April 1st, 2008 to May 2009 is 1 year and 1 month. Am I correct?
That's correct.
But according to you, you were 14 years old May 1st,
April.
2008?
April 1st.
April 1st, 2008. You were 16 in May 2009.
My birthday is April 19th.
I didn't ask you when your birthday was. I said that you told us yesterday that on April 1st, 2008, when you met Rob, you were 14 years old.
Yes.
On April 1st, 2008,
Yes.
sexual encounter with Rob a year and a month later, you're 16 years old?
Yes.
Okay. So you advanced 2 years in that year and a month.
That's incorrect.
Okay, I know. Now, when you went to court in 2008 to support Rob, you were 14 years old,
Yes, I was.
but you told the court officers that you were 19 years old.
That is true.
You lied.
I told them I was 18.
I beg your pardon?
I told them I was 18.
Either way, you lied to them. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you lied to them for 3 months. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you presented identification to them justifying age. Am I correct?
That's incorrect.
You didn't get them identification?
I gave them my high school ID. I did not present anything that represented 18.
So you're telling us now that you gave the court officers your high school identification.
Yes, I did.
What high school were you attending? Go ahead.
At the time, I was attending Shamberg High School.
What grade were you in?
At the time, I was a freshman.
And you stayed out of school for 3 months to attend that proceeding. Am I correct?
That's incorrect.
Didn't you testify that it was April 1st?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now it lasted until June. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you went every day. Am I correct?
I did not go every day.
How many days a week did you go?
I went to some of the hearings, so that took some time in between. That wasn't every day. I'm not sure how many days I went.
Your Honor, were you going to try to pull up another photograph that an investigator brought us? You don't have to explain where it came from, but does the government have it? We don't. No, it's something that's okay. Do you want to come over to the side with the court reporter and we can discuss it? Yes.
Yeah.
Your Honor, there's a photograph. There's two photographs, in fact, that we want to introduce into evidence. Can I
Can
see
I?
them? Actually, we're trying to get them. We have them on the phone. We have them on the computer, but investigators are trying to get a color photo of it. What is it? It's a picture of her and she's at the court proceedings walking near the defendant, trying to grab him, reach out to him. And then the other one is just a picture of her with a newspaper with his picture against her chest. Do you have an objection?
I have no objections. I just like to see them, but I have no objection.
We need to get them. So I'm going to ask for a break at this time. You can't ask about some other stuff and come back to it. I can. I don't want her to have a baby on the stand, so I would really like to move this along. Okay. Yes, and then I know you know this already, but you're really talking a lot about the trial in 2008. I don't think there any reason. I am just saying it's out there. It's out there.
But I will just say part of what she was trying to explain, but couldn't because I've instructed her not to use the word trial, is that there was a hearing on April 1st, 2008. Jury selection and the trial doesn't start until May. And so there's a period of weeks that she doesn't go.
You can bring that out on redirect. Okay. May I go? May I, Your Honor? Yes, good. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Now, with the court proceeding, you met someone and became friendly with him. Am I correct?
Yes,
That person's name was Kenyonia Jones.
yes,
You're no longer friendly with her. Am I correct?
that's correct.
And that friendship terminated when?
I don't recall.
And you testified there came a point in time that you spoke to someone connected with Robert about your being there and being supportive, and you were promised a t-shirt or an autograph. Do you remember telling us that?
An autograph, yes.
An autograph both? And did that come to pass?
The autograph did.
Okay. And the autograph came to pass because basically you stood in front of his tour bus and would not move until you were given an autograph. Am I correct?
That's incorrect.
What did you do with the autograph?
I kept the autograph.
Where?
I put it in my closet. It was in my closet for a while.
What was the autograph on?
It was on Kiona's bank statement.
Now, you testified and told us there came a point in time you were invited to a party at Robert's home. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you testified that you and Kenyonia were invited. You went. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you testified and told us that you took the train there.
That's correct.
And the train was a 2-hour ride.
From my home to the suburbs, yes.
And after you got to the stop that you got off on, it was a 10-minute walk. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So, in essence, you get from your home to this party, took you 2 hours and 10 minutes by public transportation and walking the rest. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you testified that you got there and you saw security. Am I correct?
That's incorrect.
What happened when you got there?
Bubba came to the gate and let us in.
Now, when Bubba came to the gate, you didn't encounter security at the gate at all?
No.
Did anyone ask you for identification at the time?
No.
Did anyone ask you to sign a disclosure agreement at that time?
No.
So you got there and you just got with Bubba, and then just basically Bubba took you back up to the party.
That's correct.
Now, there was never a situation where you were asked for identification and you told them that you had to come right back because you left your identification at your uncle's house.
No.
Never told them that, right?
No.
You are as truthful about as you are everything you testified about and told this jury today.
Yes.
Now you got to the party, withdrawn. How much money did you pay to get the train out there?
It took about $15.
And was that for a round trip or was that for a single fare?
It was round trip both ways.
And you testified and told us that you stayed at the party for about 30 minutes.
Less than 30 minutes.
Less than 30 minutes? So you took a 2-hour ride there, a 10-minute walk, went there to the party, stayed for less than 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you went back on your way?
Yes.
So in essence, you traveled 4 hours, 20 minutes for less than 30 minutes of party.
Yes.
And you left because the music was too loud.
Yes.
Now you knew when you left home you were going to RKelly's party, am I correct?
That's incorrect.
You didn't know you were going to RKelly's party,
I did not.
but you knew you were going to a party.
No, I did not.
And you were truthful about that as everything else you told us about.
Yes.
Now, during this less than 30 minutes that you were at the party, did you see any other celebrities?
No.
About how many folks were at the party?
There was about 30 to 35 people.
Do you remember what time you got to the party?
I do not.
Do you remember what time you left the party?
I do not.
Do you remember what time you left your home?
I do not.
Do you remember if you saw Robert at the party?
I do not.
Now, when you saw Robert, did you subsequently have a conversation with him?
I did have a conversation with him.
Did you initiate that conversation or did Robert?
He did.
He did. I want to go back to when you met Robert. You told him that you were 19 years old.
That's correct.
How did that come about?
He asked me my age.
And you told him 19?
Yes,
You lied,
I did.
just like you lied to the court officers.
That is incorrect.
When you were going to Robert's court appearance back in 2018, did you tell your mom you were going to court?
No, I did not.
Where did you tell her you were going?
I was supposed to be going to school.
So you lied to her too?
She didn't ask.
And you didn't tell her?
I did not.
So we have a lie to your mom, a lie to the corrections officer, and a lie to Robert.
Objection.
Sustained as to form. Now, when you went to Robert's party, you didn't expect loud music?
I did not.
Before going to Robert's
This is me.
party.
This is me. Before
Oh,
going to
okay.
Robert's party, have you ever been to a party? Canic, are you
I
ready? I'm sorry. 1 second. Canic, are
have.
you ready to read?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. I just want to make sure you're ready.
Okay,
Before
what
going
line?
to Robert's party, have you ever been to a party?
I have.
Loud music at those parties?
No.
Objection.
Overruled.
Canic.
What line? I'm trying to catch your line.
11.
11.
On what page?
255.
Okay. There was no loud. I'm sorry. There was no loud music at those parties.
No.
Were these parties attended, hosted by African Americans?
Which parties are you talking about?
Let me just back up.
Okay.
How many parties did you attend before going to Roberts?
I don't recall.
But you do recall going to the parties.
Yes.
And were any of them hosted by African Americans?
Objection.
Sustained. Come on, Mr. Canic. Move along.
You didn't hear loud music at any of those parties that you went to before.
Objection.
Overruled. Did anybody play loud music at a party that you went to?
No.
Now, you went to the party and you left after about 30 minutes and you went home.
Yes.
Do you recall what time you got home?
I do not.
And you were 16 years old when you went to this party?
Yes, I was.
Now, you testified and told us earlier that you had an uncle who lived in Olympia Fields area.
Yes.
What was the address?
I don't recall the address.
Hmm. What was his name?
His name is Perry.
Perry. What is his last name?
His last name is Marion.
Perry Marion.
Yes, that's correct.
And before the night of the party, how many times have you been to his home?
I hadn't.
You had not?
No,
Have you ever been to his home?
I have.
When?
The first time was in May 2009.
May 2009. The same month that you went to the party?
Yes.
Was it before or after you attended the party?
Can you rephrase the question?
Before you rephrase your question, can you adjust your microphone? It's getting buried.
You testified and told us you visited your uncle in May of 2009. Do you remember telling us that?
That's incorrect.
May I have the last question before that one read back? When was it that you visited your uncle?
I was visiting my uncle throughout the years.
Short while ago. I asked you before. Short while ago. I asked you when I asked you, when is it that you visited your uncle? Do you remember me asking you that?
I recall you. I thought you were talking about Rob when you asked me when was the first time I went to his home because you were speaking a party.
I think the question was, do you remember? You can rephrase it. I thought the question was, do you remember the first? You said you had an uncle that lived nearby, right?
Yes.
When did you first go to his house? That's the question.
Oh, I went to my uncle's house probably back about in 2006.
And since that first visit in 2006, how many other times have you visited him?
I'm sorry. What I lost spot. What will I be on?
16.
Okay. We used to go there yearly for celebrations. So since 2006, it was like every year for celebrations.
But you don't know his address.
I do not.
Mm.
Stop saying.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
You testified and told us yesterday by subsequent visits you had at Robert's home. Do you remember telling us about that subsequent to the party?
Yes,
And you testified and told us that someone by the name of Anthony picked you up from the metro station.
that's correct.
And that you know that this person that had you identified as Anthony, that you had identified as Anthony, did he introduce himself to you?
Yes, he did.
So he spoke to you. So he spoke with you.
Yes.
Wasn't wearing a name tag or anything like that.
No.
And you testified that he took you to Rob's home. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you testified that when you arrived at Rob's home, basically you called him to let him know that you were there and that he told you to go to the pool to change.
That's correct.
And you did that. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And at some point you contacted them to let him know, in fact, you had changed.
That's correct.
And according to you, he came to the pool area and he sat down on the lounge and told you to walk back and forth.
Yes.
Okay. And what did you take that to mean?
To just walk back and forth.
Okay. And you walked and you did walk back and forth. Am I correct?
Yes.
Where did you walk?
Along the pool.
And when you were walking, did you walk model like?
No, I was just regular walking.
Regular walking. And how many times you walked back and forth?
I'm not sure.
Hmm. When you're removing your bathing suit, each time were you removing your bathing suit each time you walked back and forth?
That's correct.
Did you do that on your own?
At the instruction of Rob.
Tell me what that instruction was.
He told me to walk back and forth and remove my bathing suit as I did it.
And you did it. Well, did you say to him when he asked you to do this, no?
No,
Did you say, I'm going home?
no.
So you just took off your clothes.
Objection.
Overruled. Yes.
Then, according to you, that after that happened, he gave you oral sex.
Yes.
Then you said that after that happened, that you felt uncomfortable and told him that you were 16.
Yes.
Now, what about that made you feel uncomfortable to tell him you were 16?
I was uncomfortable with the situation. I knew I had lied about my age and I wanted to tell him my age.
But you were not so uncomfortable with the situation that you decided, hell no, I'm not taking off my clothes. I'm going home.
That's correct.
And this didn't come about because some law enforcement was at the home looking for a 17-year-old Dominique.
That's correct.
That's not the reason why you told him that, correct?
That's correct. What you're saying.
Now, you testified and you told us yesterday that at this point in time, when you were telling Rob your real age, that you showed him your state ID. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Now, do you recall being arrested and charged for having a bogus ID?
No.
Do you recall being arrested and convicted at all?
No.
Never happened, right?
I don't recall.
Oh my God.
Lord have mercy.
Do you recall do you recall being arrested in Bloomfield, Illinois?
No,
Do you remember where Bloomfield, Illinois is located?
I do not.
Do you know of any city by the name of Bloomfield?
I've heard of Bloomfield.
But you've never been to Bloomfield.
I've never been to Bloomfield.
Mr. Canick, can I see you? Mr.
No.
Canick, Mr. Canick, can I see and you, the government, for a second? No court reporter necessary. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll take a morning break now. It'll probably be about 15 minutes. Please don't talk about the case or anything having to do with the case, but I'll see you in about 15 minutes.
Hold on, let me get some water, y'all.
Yeah, can we stop here?
Hmm.
We only been on for 1 hour. Okay. Because I'm gonna stop at 2 hours, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So you keep going.
Yeah, keep reading.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. The witness can step down and everybody can sit down. Court.
I didn't see
Just
that.
Line
Are we
three.
on number one?
Line three.
line 3.
Oh, you
263
read mine.
page.
Okay, I'll read it again. All right, the witness can step down and everybody can sit down. Jess, I think what we're going to try to accomplish is to fix whatever is going on over here with your connection. And then I just want to make sure that Mr. Canick's microphone is properly attached. What else do you want to say? I'm sorry.
That's all right, Your Honor. I wanted to raise with the court that with the defense counsel's line of questioning regarding the witnesses, why she was uncomfortable once she engaged in sexual activity with the defendant, and why she felt the need to explain that she was 16. One of the reasons I anticipate she would testify that she felt uncomfortable is because the year before the defendant was on trial for making a recording of an underage female, and that
I think counsel was aware that the line of questioning will open that door. We had a slight conversation about it at the side. But if that's part of the explanation, it seems like something that's appropriate on redirect.
thank you.
But anyway, let's be back here in about 15 minutes, all right?
Your Honor, may we write one thing briefly before?
Let's have the defendant come out first.
Yes, sorry about that.
I'm assuming we're straightened out the issues with the exhibits and the display.
That's what I'm told, Your Honor. The hard copy we were supposed to get in 15 minutes anyway.
What did you want to raise, Miss Geddes?
On cross, defense counsel referenced a prior arrest and conviction for using a false ID or something along those lines. The witness does not have a conviction for using a false ID, and therefore I don't think it's proper basis for cross examination.
Was she arrested for it?
She was arrested. She was also not arrested in Bloomfield. She was arrested for shoplifting in Bloomingdale's.
In Bloomingdale's. You didn't know what that was?
Bloomingdale,
So, first of all, an arrest is really not probative of anything. So, I do agree that's not a proper question. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but she had a fake ID. I don't get it.
I just turned it off too.
Just to drive me out of my mind?
hmm I asked the question. It was a good faith based question based on the information I had. Waiting for it, she denied it, so I moved on.
as long as we're not going back there, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I think generally, we're all on the same page about arrest then. So, it won't happen again, I'm sure. All right. Anything else before we get the witness?
Your
Okay.
Honor,
Let's get the witness.
Your Honor, one other note. When I redirect this witness, I've instructed her not to talk about the trial. Can I have a minute with her to just lead her through it?
Hmm.
When cross is done, how much longer do you have?
Lead her through it.
Yeah,
Right.
interesting. Maybe about an hour and a half.
You can't see my face under my mask. Okay.
It may go faster.
We won't talk about how loud the music was. Whatever. I'm sure it will be fine. If that's the case, that'll take us to about lunch break anyway. So we'll handle it that way. Of course, no requirement that you go for an hour and a half.
I certainly understand, Your Honor.
All right. And I'm correct that we remedied whatever the problem was with the displaying of your evidence.
I think we have.
Is that right, Donna?
Yes, it is.
I just want to make sure we're connected. The witness is here. Let's get the jury.
All rise. You may be seated.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're ready to continue with the cross examination by Mr. Canick.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The witness is reminded that she is still under oath.
Yes.
So earlier this morning, you told us that there came a point in time that you and Robert, your true age according to you as being 16.
Yes.
And you told us, well, I asked based on your testimony this morning, you told us that this happened after you had a sexual encounter with Robert.
Yes.
And when you said a sexual encounter with Robert, what would you describe is that sexual encounter?
It was oral sex that he performed on me.
Now, you testified and told us earlier this morning that you had a number of interviews with the government prior to coming in and giving testimony here. Am I correct?
Yes.
Do you recall giving an interview to the government on February 27, 2019?
I don't recall the exact date.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness and see if it refreshes her recollection?
Sure.
Sure.
You can hold it and see if you need to look at it.
Yes.
You've had an opportunity to look at the document.
Yes.
Does it refresh your recollection that you had an interview with the government on February 27, 2019?
Yes.
Now, and and that meeting that you had on February 27, 2019, would it be fair to say it was similar to all the other meetings that you had with the government, wherein there were a number of prosecutors and agents in the room,
Yes.
and there were folks taking notes,
Yes.
and you saw them, they were taking notes, am I correct?
Yes.
Now, do you recall telling during this meeting that you and Robert moved from the pool area to the game room, which is located inside the home, and that this was an area that the party was previously held, and that Robert brought in your personal bag with your belongings into the game room, and you were still naked when you guys entered the game room, and you and Robert sat down on the couch?
Objection.
Is it to the form of the question?
Yes.
It sounds rather compound. Maybe you could break it down.
There's another objection as well.
Well, let's start by breaking it down and see if that fixes the problem.
At that meeting, do you recall telling the government that you and Robert is the down on the couch?
Yes.
And this was in the game room, am I correct?
Yes.
And it was there, according to you, that you told Robert that you were 16 years old.
Yes.
And according to you, you removed your identification from the bag and showed it to Robert. Am I correct?
Yes.
And according to you, Robert told you to tell everyone that you were 19 but act like you were 21.
That's correct.
Now, do you recall telling your civil lawyers a different story?
No.
Do you recall telling your civil lawyers that Robert told you to tell people that you were 19 but act like you were 25?
No.
You did tell us yesterday that your lawyer that you were working with Patrick Condron of Susan Logan's and Associates, am I correct?
Yes.
And you did have a meeting with him February 1st, 2010. Am I correct?
I don't recall the exact date.
May I approach again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you let me know what exhibit you're talking about?
3500-JP-16. Just look at the document and see if it refreshes your recollection.
Yes.
When you say yes, does it refresh your recollection that you had a meeting with your lawyers, your civil lawyers, and of Logan's firm, law firm, February the 1st, 2010?
Yes.
Now, you're testifying and telling us meeting that at that meeting, you did not tell them that Rob told you to tell folks you're 19 and act like you're 25.
I did not say that.
Now, when you had those meetings with them, were they taking notes?
No.
Hmm. Tell us how the meeting would go.
The meetings with my previous attorneys,
Meetings with Patrick Undren and Susan Logans and associated law firm.
I only had a few meetings with them, but I just went there and I told them that I wanted to press criminal charges against him originally, and they did not recommend that I press criminal charges against him.
Okay. Now, my question to you is, tell us how the meeting went. Did you sit down in an office with them
Yes, I did sit down in an office.
and they took information from you?
Yes, they collected evidence from me.
Did you ask? Did they ask you for? Did they ask you for recitation of what your claim was?
Can you rephrase the question?
Did they ask you to explain why you were there?
Yes.
And you told them, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you're telling this jury that they didn't take any notes.
They didn't take notes.
Did you speak to anyone else? Did they have you speak to anyone else in connection with your claim?
I was able to speak with Susan over the phone.
Can I have one moment with counsel?
Yes. You don't need me, do you?
No.
The witness was interviewed by a polygrapher. What I'm asking her is, did the law firm have her speak to someone else? Because I'm trying to make sure that I don't open the door about bringing out the polygraph.
I assume she passed it.
She passed portions of it.
She passed this one.
She said he told her, tell people that she was 19 but act 25. But a prior inconsistent statement, and I think the way I'm asking it, does not open the door by saying to her, they had you speak to someone else. And in fact, you told them this.
You already have done that. I don't know to what extent they permitted her to review whatever their report was.
She hasn't.
I'm just saying, I think you're bound by her answer unless you get the person in to say that she said it.
I'm sure the government will stipulate to that.
I don't know about that.
You're not going to stipulate, then we'll drag them in.
The only stipulation would be that whoever it was prepared the notes at some time afterwards and didn't show them to her. I'm assuming that's what it is. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your business. It doesn't. You ask her the question. If she says,
I can get that stipulation because she's.
go with God.
Just to be clear, I think you already asked about this. I think we're done. We're moving on from this. I agree. I'm not going to bring in the polygraph based on what you said.
Earlier this morning, before we took our break, I asked you when you got this autograph from Robert. Didn't you, in fact, stand in front of his tour bus and did not move until you were granted an autograph? You remember me asking you that?
Yes,
I think your answer was no. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Do you also recall a meeting with the government where you were told the government that you and Kiana stood in front of Kelly's, but until they agreed to give you an autograph?
I don't recall.
May I approach?
Sure.
I'm directing your attention to the second highlighted portion in yellow. Is it in fact that you and Kiana stood in front of Kelly's bus until they granted you an autograph?
We did not stand in front of his tour bus.
If the government has that written in their notes in some place, that's an error?
If it says tour bus, that's an error.
Well, did you stand in front of any type of vehicle to get an autograph?
In front of his car, yes.
In front of a car?
Yes.
What kind of car?
I don't recall the exact car, but he was in the back of a car.
You saw the car with him in the back of the car. Am I correct?
Yes.
Had you seen him in that car before?
Yes.
Where did you see him in that car before?
Coming to court?
He didn't come to court in a tour bus?
Yes, he came to court in a tour bus, and he would get in the car or in an SUV and be dropped off at the courthouse.
You stood in front of that car. Am I correct?
Yes.
You refused to move. Am I correct?
We did not refuse to move. We waved the car down.
If the government wrote in their report that you and Kiana stood in front of this vehicle until he agreed to give you an autograph, that would be wrong by the government to put that in the report, correct?
It would be wrong.
It would
It would not be wrong.
It would not be wrong. Sorry.
Because it wouldn't be wrong because that's what in fact happened. Am I correct?
That is incorrect.
Now, the first day that you went to Robert's home, did you have intercourse with him?
No.
What happened that day sexually between you two?
Nothing.
The first day, that's because of the party, correct?
The first day is the party.
The second time, did you have intercourse with him?
Yes, I did.
After you had intercourse with him, according to you, he prepared you a drink?
Yes.
And you described the drink yesterday as being delicious. Am I correct?
Yes.
After a while, you felt a little funny after having the drink. Am I correct?
Yes.
You told Robert that?
Yes, I did.
And then he, according to you, escorted you to the room with the mirrors. Am I correct?
Yes.
You laid down, according to you, in that room until you felt better. Am I correct?
No.
Did you eventually leave the room?
Yes.
When you left the room, where did you go?
Down to the studio.
Now, this was the only second time you were at his house. Am I correct?
Yes.
And the first time you were at his home, you were there for only about an hour, less than 30 minutes. No, I'm sorry. You were there for about less than 30 minutes. Am I correct?
Yes.
You went to a party, and the party was where?
It was at his home in the game room.
And no one during that time gave you a tour of his home. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And when you went there the second time, you were escorted, according to you, by Anthony to the pool area. Am I correct?
Correct.
Prior to going to the pool area, Anthony did not give you a tour of the house. Am I correct?
That's correct.
This room, the mirror room, according to you, is on the first floor?
Incorrect.
Where's the mirror room?
First level of the home.
First level of the home.
Yes.
How many levels?
Basement, first level, then upstairs.
So when you said first level of the home, is that the first floor?
No.
What is the first floor?
The first floor would be the basement.
Uh-huh. Before this day, you never had any type of tour or orientation of Robert's home. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Hmm. After you were lying in the mirror room for a period of time, you got up and went there? And you got up and went where?
I was taken down to the studio. Now
You
she's
were
taken.
taken down to the studio?
I was escorted down to the studio.
Who escorted you?
Robert.
Robert escorted you?
Yes.
Wasn't Robert preparing for a party downstairs?
No.
Weren't you in the room by yourself sleeping trying to feel better?
No.
So Robert was in the room with you as you slept in the mirror room.
He wasn't in the room the entire time.
Do you recall testifying and telling the jury yesterday under oath? Question: did you drink the drink? Answer: I did drink it. Question: how did it make you feel? Answer: it was delicious. I just started feeling a bit ill and I told the defendant I wasn't feeling well. Question: what happened once you told the defendant you weren't feeling well? Answer: he opened the door to the mirror room and he told me I can lay down in the mirror room. Question: can you describe the mirror room? Answer: a room where the entire room is just mirror. There is a huge mirror above the bed. Question: what happened once you were inside the mirror room? Answer: I just laid down. Question: and where, if anywhere, did the defendant go once you were in the mirror room? Answer: he told me, well, he was preparing for a party that he was going to have later. So he ended up leaving the room. Question: where did you go? Answer: about, I want to say 10 minutes later, I went downstairs. When you testified under oath to this jury yesterday, you didn't tell them that Robert took you downstairs. Am I correct?
That is correct.
You told them that you laid there for about 10 minutes, then you went downstairs. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So when you testified just a short while ago that Robert took you downstairs, you lied, didn't you?
Objection.
Oh, sustained as to form.
Were you telling the truth when you told the jury just a short while ago that it was Robert who took you downstairs?
Yes.
Do you know what the truth is?
Mr. Canick, sustained.
Let's go back to this mirror room. There's a bathroom inside that room. Am I correct?
Yes.
And the mirror room has a lock on the outside of the door. Am I correct?
I don't recall.
It's your testimony that you could just walk up to the door in the mirror room after that 10 minutes elapsed and just open the door and walk downstairs.
You can repeat.
Rephrase. I don't understand it either. Rephrase.
Of course. It's your testimony. It's your testimony. Withdrawn. So correct me if I'm wrong. You just got up after about 10 minutes, opened the door of the mirror room, and you walked downstairs.
That's incorrect.
Tell me what happened.
Robert came to the mirror room and he escorted me down the stairs.
Did there come a point in time that you left Robert's home to go back to your home that day?
The next day I did.
What time was it that you left the next day?
I'm unsure of the time, but I do remember saying I wanted to go home at 6 a.m., but I'm not sure what time I actually left this home.
And your parents were worried? Oh, I'm sorry. That's not in there. I'm sorry. What time did you arrive at his home?
I don't recall the time I arrived.
So you were, according to you, 16, and you stayed overnight at his home?
Yes.
You testified and told us at one point you eventually left. Did you alert him that you wanted to leave?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
Through text message and phone call.
What happened?
I was able to leave.
You were able to leave.
Yes.
No one held you there, right?
I had to wait to be escorted, but I was able to leave.
Well, were you given money to take the train?
Yes, I was given money to take the train back home.
How much money were you given?
It was $50 in an envelope.
And you decided to take the train as opposed to taking a cab?
Yes.
Who was in that who was it that came down to give you the envelope?
One of the runners came down to give me the envelope.
Do you know the runner's name?
Tom,
What did Tom tell you?
that he was going to take me to the train station, and he handed me the envelope and said that it was from Rob.
Now, you testified and told us about Dominique being your friend from a fan club of Rob's.
Yes.
This fan club, how long before this date how long before this date had you been a member?
Since about 2007.
Would you describe yourself as a super fan?
At the time, yes.
And what made you a super fan?
Well, what makes a super fan is somebody that is just like a really big fan of the person's music or whatever they do. You're just very supportive of it.
And that's when you went to the court proceedings in 2008.
Yes.
Would you characterize yourself as being a groupie?
No, I would not.
Have you ever considered yourself as being a groupie of Roberts?
Objection.
Of Roberts.
I'm not sure the distinction. Do you consider yourself a groupie?
No.
Go ahead.
You testified and told us you eventually introduced Dominique to Robert.
Yes.
You have a tattoo of Dominique on your body, am I correct?
Yes.
Where is that tattoo?
It's on my leg.
What is that tattoo?
It's a tattoo of a heart that says her full name, and I have a cupcake tattoo, and also a tattoo with me and Dominique's anniversary date.
When you say you and Dominique's anniversary date,
Objection.
Overruled.
Me and Dominique used to date.
when was that?
It started March 17th of 2010.
You testified and told us yesterday that there came a point in time that Robert took I think you said, your pink palm central phone. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And you told us that the reason he took it is that he didn't want you to be in contact with anyone. Remember telling us that?
Yes.
But you also told us that, according to you, took the phone and gave you a memory card. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And I think you testified and told us that he eventually replaced the phone by giving you money to buy another one.
That's correct.
How much money did he give you there?
$250.
You bought another phone, a prepaid phone?
Yes.
How much was that prepaid phone?
I don't recall the price of it.
Not $250 though, right?
That's right.
On that other phone, you used it to contact the very same people. Am I correct that you were contacting before?
Not all of them.
But you contacted Dominique,
Yes.
Kiana,
Yes.
your friend Danica,
Yes.
and another family member, and other family members.
Yes.
Those are some of the same people that you said Rob said he didn't want you to contact. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, the government has agreed to
Are you offering some things into evidence?
Yes.
No objection.
How are they going to be identified?
Defense one, two, three.
Okay, one, two, three.
Yes.
Why don't you mark them afterwards? Do you have exhibit stickers, Mr. Canick?
Okay, Your Honor. I'm going to ask that Robert 1 for identification be published.
Defendants 1,
Yes.
defendants exhibit 1. Okay.
You're looking at Defendant's Exhibit 1 for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
That's a color photograph, a color version of the photograph that was offered by the government earlier in this trial. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, that is you on the bed. Am I correct?
Yes.
And where is this? Where are you?
In the mirror room.
No, where are you? In the mirror room. Okay. And you testified and told us earlier, withdrawn. Do you remember the date this was taken?
I do not.
Do you remember that you were doing that? Do you remember what you were doing that day?
Yes, I was visiting Rob.
You were visiting Rob. Now, I want you to describe the outfit that you're wearing.
I'm wearing some tan capris and a red shirt.
You're not wearing baggy sweats, am I correct?
That's correct.
The shirt describes the shirt.
It's a red fitted shirt.
Red fitted shirt. That's fitted, not baggy.
That's correct.
What do you have on your feet?
I have heels on.
You have heels on?
Yes.
You're lying on the bed with heels on. Am I correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to.
Are these additional photos?
Yes.
You already marked defendants exhibit 1, 2, 3. Wait. You should be A, B, C.
Yes.
Those first things will be A, B, C. Now you're on D and E. All right?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to show that what is marked for identification as defendant exhibits D and E. May I approach?
Yes. So these are not in evidence.
Not yet. Take a look at these. Do you recognize what is marked as defendant's exhibit D for identification?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
That's a photo of me, Rob, June, and another RKelly fan.
Do you have a sense of when this photograph was taken?
I believe that was taken in April of 2008.
And does this seem to be a fair, accurate depiction of what you recall the situation would be back at that time?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer this into evidence as defendant's exhibit D.
No objection.
Okay.
I'm going to show you what is previously marked defendant's exhibit E for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
That's me. That is me.
Your Honor, I'm going to offer this as a defendant's exhibit E.
No objection.
Okay, that's in evidence.
I ask that defendant's exhibit D be published.
Okay.
You're looking at defendant's exhibit D. Do you recognize yourself in the photograph?
I do.
Where do you recognize? What are you wearing?
I'm wearing a black coat with white pants and brown heels.
I'm going to ask that defendant's exhibit E be published.
Okay.
Do you recognize yourself in that one?
Yes.
What do you recognize yourself? Withdrawn. In this photograph, you're holding a news article or something with Robert's picture on it.
Yes, that's correct.
What is it?
This was me outside of the trial holding a newspaper article with him.
You're 14 at that time. Am I correct?
I'm not sure if this was taken when I was 14 or a few weeks later when I turned 15.
Do you recall whether or not this was a school day?
Incidentally, you're wearing a wig here.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it was a school day.
Incidentally, you're wearing a wig here. Am I correct?
Yes, I am.
You're wearing a wig because you wanted to project yourself as being older. Am I correct?
No, that's not correct.
It's just a style thing?
Yes.
You testified and told us yesterday that there came a point in time that you and Dominique went to Rob's home in Olympia Fields. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you testified and told us that you testified and told us you got through the gate. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And you testified and told us that you were stopped by Bubba. Am I correct?
That's correct.
What were you doing at his home?
We just ran through the gate. We had no plan.
You had no plan?
No.
You lived 2 hours away. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So you had no plans, but you drove withdrawn. How did you get there?
Dominique drove her mom's car.
So how far did Dominique live from there?
She lives about 15 minutes away from him.
How did you get to Dominique?
I took the metro train to go out to her house.
With no plans, you left your home, met up with Dominique, and you decided to go to Rob's home?
I planned to meet up with Dominique, and we had no plans as far as going to his home. It just happened.
You testified and showed us. You testified about a huge gate yesterday to his property. Am I correct?
That's correct.
You climbed across the gate?
No, we didn't climb the gate.
How did you get through the gate?
We waited for a car to go through, and when the car went in, we ran in behind it.
Stalkish. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Rob was on tour. Am I correct?
I'm not sure.
How long had you wait for the car to come through or go through the gate?
We drove up. It was probably about 2 minutes, and then we saw a car going in, and we ran in.
So you were waiting outside of Dominique's car?
We were getting out of her car.
Can you describe the car that went in the gate?
It was a black car. I'm not sure of the make and model.
It was Bubba who caught you, right?
That's correct.
What did you tell Bubba your reason for being there?
I just told him that I was getting my heels. I wanted to get my heels that I left.
That was not your purpose, though, right?
It originally wasn't my purpose.
When did it become your purpose?
When I got caught.
So it wasn't your purpose after you told Bubba that. What, if anything, did Bubba do according to you?
Can you repeat the question?
After you told Bubba that you were there to get your heels, what, if anything, did Bubba do according to you?
He went back and he went to the house and he got my heels for me.
May I have a second, please, Your Honor?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact, ma'am, that that day that you went to Robert's home, he was not home?
Objection.
Overruled.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry. Which date are you speaking of?
The date that you and Dominique went to his home. Isn't it a fact that he was not home that day?
That's correct.
Isn't it a fact that you did, in fact, get into his home that day?
That's I got into his gate. I did get into his home.
Isn't it a fact that you got into his home and you went inside of his home and you took pictures of his home while he was not there at his home?
That is not true.
Isn't it a fact that the pictures that you were taking while in his bed was taken on that day that you and Dominique burglarized his home?
Objection. Sustained as to form.
Isn't it a fact that you took this picture in his bed the date that you and Dominique actually went there?
That's incorrect.
Your shoes are on, am I correct?
Yes,
You're dressed in a tight fitting clothes, am I correct?
that's correct.
And you're testifying that you told the jury yesterday that Robert's rules were that you could not wear tight fitting clothes. That's what you told the jury yesterday, am I correct?
That's correct.
You testified and told the jury that Robert said that you were to wear baggy clothes, sweatpants, am I correct?
That's correct.
And loose fitting blouse, am I correct?
A loose fitting shirt.
Shirt. You would agree with me that the pants that you're wearing are not baggy, am I correct?
That's correct.
You would agree with me that the shirt you are wearing is not loose fitting.
That's correct.
Now, this photo that you said you took with Robert when Robert was home, how long had you been in this house that day?
I'm not sure.
Do you recall what time you got there?
I do not.
Hmm. When would you go to Robert's home? Would you lie in his bed with your shoes on?
You can repeat that?
When you would go to Robert's home, would you lie in his bed with your shoes on?
Not all the time.
Not all the time. When did you do it?
I would randomly do it at times.
This just happens to be one of those days, right?
Yes.
Now, you and Bubba had a relationship. Am I correct?
Objection.
Overruled. What kind of relationship?
Come on. A sexual
Ob-
relationship.
Objection.
Sustain.
You and Bubba had a sexual relationship?
Objection.
Can I see the parties at the side? I
The
made a
following. Oh, go ahead.
I made a pretrial ruling that the witness' prior sexual conduct was not relevant, and I preclude inquiry of this.
Hmm.
This is the second question that you put to this witness about her relationship with other people. And if there is some reason for an exception to my ruling, I will expect that you would apply to me first before asking the witness. I'm
Okay.
sustaining the objection. I do not see the relevance of it unless you can explain it. I am very disappointed with this line of questioning.
Your Honor, you would be. This witness testified that she gave my client, I'm sorry, I just added that in there. I'm sorry, I'll just be ad-libbing sometime. Yeah, I'm sorry. Your Honor, this witness testified that she gave my client large sums of money after she got the settlement from him. Based on the record we received from the government, she gave Bubba money from the settlement. She gave Bubba monies from the settlement money. Bubba was the person, according to her, that stopped her from actually burglarizing my client's home. And Bubba was one who is supposed to call my client and alert my client and did nothing about it. There is a theory here that she and Bubba were basically in cahoots in terms of what was going on to get money from my client.
I mentioned when I made this ruling, the rules require that you have to make a specific and articulate reason to question a witness along these lines. You are among the best lawyers that I have worked with, so I know you know this. and you did not do that. You just asked her the question. Am I precluding? You have to make an application to me. You didn't do it. If this was your theory, that was what you should have done. It's beyond inappropriate to ask a witness in this situation a question like that.
Hmm. Well, then am I allowed to ask the witness about their relationship, leaving out the sexual part?
First of all, if the theory is conspired with him, I'm not sure the sex part of it matters.
It shows the closeness and the trust.
I don't know what evidence you have that they had any kind of relationship, but it doesn't matter because I precluded. I precluded you from bringing out this evidence. And if there is some reason you to do it, you should have made the application. You can't do it. This talking about herpes has zero to do with this questioning.
Look how broad this question is.
So the record is clear. Mr. Cannett's co-counsel has come with a portion of the transcript during which the government was asking witness questions about herpes. The questions were confined specifically to this period of time. I'm not going to discuss this anymore because I don't see there is a foundation for this question, and it's in indirect contradiction to what I told you. So please do not ask the question. Move on to something else.
Can I get some water?
Yes.
Should we stop here, Sylvia?
Time check, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry. It was hard for me to unmute. Yes. Yes, this is getting to be a little bit okay. Yeah. Let's just end it. What page are we on?
301.
Page 301. What's the line?
1.
So 301 line 1. We're gonna end this and do this the rest tomorrow. But I am coming back on for the discussion, guys, because I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
I got a lot to say.
Okay.
Those who wants to come back, come on back. If not, we'll see you later. But I got a lot to say. This is ridiculous.
You was taking some notes, wasn't you, Sylvia?
Oh my God, I wanted to yell just now because it was like, okay, let me end this so we can. I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.